Hello everyone, I'm Randy Arrington and welcome to the 47th episode of Page Valley Living. We're here today inside the Railroad Museum in the old train depot in downtown Luray, and we'll be in discussion with local school board member Michael Overfelt and talk about his efforts to help the families down in western North Carolina in the wake of Hurricane Helene. We'll talk about what he saw during that historic storm or in the wake of it, the people that he talked to, and what else can be done to help those displaced as the winter begins to set in those mountain towns. Now he's trying to fill a second trailer to go back and help more of the folks in North Carolina. We'll tell you how you can contribute in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor.
At Luray Caverns, from well-lighted paved walkways, explore cathedral-sized rooms with ceilings 10 stories high, and walk among huge chambers filled with towering stone columns. Come visit Geology's Hall of Fame, only at Luray Caverns. Visit them online at luraycaverns.com to plan your trip today.
Episode 47 of Page Valley Living is being recorded on Monday, November the 25th, and will air on Wednesday, November the 27th. We'll be talking with Michael Overfelt about his efforts to help families in western North Carolina in the wake of Hurricane Helene. We'll talk about what he saw and what is still needed down there as winter sets in these mountain towns. He's organizing a second trailer to go down. We'll talk about how you can donate to that effort. But now, let's take a look at this week's headlines.
And now looking back at the week that was in the Page Valley. After more than 4 decades of wear and tear from the elements, a regional energy provider is making final plans to rebuild the infrastructure for the Page-Sperryville 138 kilovolt transmission line. Potomac Edison Company, who is owned by First Energy, plans to begin the $46 million rebuild project in late 2026 to replace 300 wooden pole structures with new steel monopoles. The 13.8-mile-long project includes additional upgrades within the existing Page and Sperryville substations and will remain within the existing right-of-ways. An informational meeting was held earlier this month in Luray at the Luray Fire Hall. The 18th-month project, expected to begin in late 2026, should conclude in spring of 2028. And once again, if you're planning for upcoming Christmas parades, the Stanley Christmas Parade with a theme of Christmas jingles will be held on Main Street on Saturday, December 7th, and the Luray Christmas Parade with a theme of Christmas movie memories will cruise down Main Street on Thursday, December the 12th. In the world of sports, a belated congratulations to Reagan Dean and Lucy Curley. The 2 high school juniors at Luray High School were named first team all-region honorees in competition cheer earlier this month. And now looking at the weekend ahead in the Page Valley on Thursday, November the 28th on Thanksgiving Day from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's the 24th annual free Thanksgiving Day dinner served for dine-in or carry-out at the American Legion adjacent to Inlawn Park and the Page Public Library. On Friday, November the 29th, Tommy Ruckert will be performing live from 7 to 9 p.m. at Skyland in Shenandoah National Park. On Saturday, November the 30th, it's Cooter's Garage Band, hitting the stage from 1 to 3 p.m. at Cooter's in the Valley on Route 211 west of Luray. And from 7 to 9 p.m. up at Skyland again, it's Lisbeth Sable and Casey Firkin that will be on stage performing then. Finally, Sunday, December the 1st, from 2 to 4 p.m., bluegrass music out at Cooter's in the Valley. And that's a look at the headlines for the past week in the Page Valley.
And we're back here inside the Railroad Museum in downtown Luray to talk with Mike Overfelt. Mike, thanks so much for talking with us today.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
Now, just in case there's a few folks who haven't met you yet and don't know you in the area, tell us a little bit about where you came from, how you got here, and what you do now.
Well, my wife and I moved north from Alabama because a lot of our friends are here in the area, in Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia. And we wanted to live in the area of mountains, rocks, water, and woods. And that's what we found is a wonderful place over in Jewel Hollow. And So I got involved in the community with the school board, and I try to help out with the VFW, the American Legion, and has started becoming active in the Rotary. So there's a lot of things, and my wife, she's really busy with her PCEC, the Page County Equine Connection, and her oat cakes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're really enjoying.
You can give a plug for the oat cakes.
Okay,
What's
thanks.
the name of the oat cakes?
McWhirter Scottish oat cakes.
Okay.
They'll be at the Christmas market, and now she's making harvest cakes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but it's a great place. We just love it here. We really do.
Did you ever get the chance to meet the unofficial mayor of Jewel Hollow, Mr. Gary Frank?
I did not, but there's a new one. There is a new one right now. Yeah. So, you know, the guy Ralph down in the corner, he is Ralph Riddle is probably the new unofficial mayor.
Okay. Well, Gary Frank was a longtime friend and a poker buddy, and I wish him the best now. Let's see here. Getting into our topic for today, and folks, we wanted to bring up something here with this week being Thanksgiving, something to remind us of all of the things that we have to be grateful for during Thanksgiving as we get together with family and friends. And there's a lot of folks that you're going to tell us about from Western North Carolina that have lost a lot and should make us appreciative of what we have. We're all obviously aware of Hurricane Helene. There were 226 lives lost across 6 states, making it one of the deadliest hurricanes to hit the U.S. mainland since 1950. The cost of the storm is estimated at being more than $30 billion, and the damages that it cleaned up. And some of these tourist mountain towns, which here we in the Page Valley, in Luray, in Shenandoah and Stanley, can relate to. Small mountain towns that depend on tourism, and they have literally just been wiped out. When the storm hit, we obviously saw it on the news, but how did you first hear about the needs in the wake of the storm that were rising so quickly after everything was happening?
Well, I went to Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, so it's Watauga County. And Watauga is right there next to the Watauga Lake and right above the areas of Hendersonville and Spruce Pines right in the area. So a couple of my friends started calling me and telling me what they actually, I mean, we saw the news reports, but you really don't get the true feeling of how bad the devastation is. But when you start talking to friends and you know that they're isolated, their bridges are gone, they have no power, there's no heat. And even early on, I mean, it's been snowing down there now on and off for probably close to 2 weeks. So not continually, but it's cold at night.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends who was he was a helicopter pilot, he was actually instrumental in flying supplies. I'm talking like 2,000 pounds of water and food and supplies into Samaritan's Purse, his area there in Boone. That's where they're headquartered.
Okay.
And so my friends are very close to Franklin Graham as well. And so through that network, I got to learn that there is just a lot of need.
So you have this feeling, as many of us did when we saw the devastation, the things on the clips on social media, the videos, the news that was reporting about these deaths and devastation. So you have this feeling you want to help, like many did. How did you get started? Who do you call? Where do you go? What do you do?
Well, I spent a lot of years overseas in some pretty unfriendly areas. Mm-hmm. So I kind of know how to organize and to gather materials and so forth. So I reached out to a friend, Bob Drumheller, who gave me one of his trailers. Had new tires put on it so I could make the trip. And I went over to the sign company here in Luray, and he made me a sign for free for donations.
Showalter Signs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you actually put a spot on your show for us and helped us advertise. In fact, we were down at the Walmart, and they allowed us to set up down there and to collect materials. We got a lot of material from the Moose. We got a lot of material from folks out of the Rotary. I mean, just the outpouring from Page One. We had goods provided by them as well. The outpouring of the community was just overwhelming.
Yes.
And I loaded that trailer to the max and took it south.
Now, you know, one local church I know gave $4,000 to the nonprofit Samaritan's Purse, and they were the ones you were coordinating with in the areas you went, I believe. How did you find out about them? How did you get connected with them?
Well, as I mentioned, Samaritan's Purse is in Boone, North Carolina.
Okay.
And my friends that live there, they actually live in Fleetwood, which is just outside of Todd and Boone. That's the area there around Watauga and Avery counties. They are very close to Franklin Graham. So I started contacting them, asking them what they needed and so forth, and could I bring down, clothing. They actually waved me off because they had lost one of their warehouses during the storm. So
Was that in Damascus?
No, that's Virginia.
Okay.
This is actually Samaritan's Purse in Boone.
In Boone, further south, yeah.
And so, interestingly, this is really good. Chris Reisinger, who's a teacher, an ag teacher at Luray High School, right?
Yeah.
Well, he was actually collecting goods in Stanley, and I walked up to him and asked him what he was doing, and he told me I'm getting ready to go to Damascus with a truck. So that was another source of inspiration, if you will, for me to get a trailer and move out. I called Damascus, the sheriff's department. That was kind of my primary point of contact to get into the individual counties. Well, they told me don't bring anything. We're too full. All of our loading docks are just overwhelmed. So I was like, okay, what do I do now? I've got a plan. I've got goods. I'm going down one way or the other.
Right.
So then in Watauga, Watauga County, south of Watauga County, there's a racetrack. Well, they were collecting goods, but they were getting overflow as well. Bristol Motor Speedway was also collecting goods, and so they were just piling up.
Wow.
So I just said, well, I'm going to push further into the envelope of the storm. And I made it all the way down to where the interstate had been cut off, literally because the bridges were gone. And so the state patrol are pushing us off the road into secondary roads. And I had to tell you, it was really amazing to drive through a forest of fallen trees. The guardrails are all smashed on the side of the road. There's power lines down everywhere. They tell you not to drive over them, but really had no choice because there was only one way down to the valley.
Wow.
But the destruction of the trees, it looked like matchsticks just falling down from the mountainsides, from the rain and the winds. Probably one of the most unique things I saw, I came around a bend and I looked down to see a railroad track. Probably 300 to 400 feet of it had just been lifted off the side of the mountain and was laying in the river. It was almost surreal.
Water is a powerful
yes,
thing.
It is. Absolutely.
Now, you told us at one point that Samaritan's Purse had a cost of up to $60,000 a day.
Right.
Just in helicopter fuel when they were in the rescue and recovery phase. But you must have seen, dozens and dozens of all kinds of needs out there.
Well, there were a lot of needs. And the just as a point of clarification, the 60,000 was probably dispersed among a lot of the aircraft going down there because not the Cobras, but the Blackhawks, they burn a lot of fuel.
Right.
And so they're only able to fly 2 to 3 hours. This friend of mine, his Blackhawk is in a private company, and so they had extended tanks on it, and so they were really burning up a lot of fuel.
Wow.
But there are a lot of folks out there, just so many people, individuals here in the county as well. The goods were down there, headed down to other areas. We tried to hook up, but we missed each other, and they were headed to another area, and I went on down to Spruce Pine. It was interesting once I got to the site. So let me back up a second. The way I found out about the collection site was through my friend who was the pilot.
Yeah.
And he gave me the contact numbers for the guys that were running the Emergency Operations Center and the Triage Center for Samaritan's Purse.
Okay.
So I showed up there initially, and Randy, it was amazing. There were piles and piles and piles of soft goods, and so they wouldn't take any more soft goods from me.
Clothes.
We had brand new blankets, sleeping bags, wonderful winter coats for male and women, and brand new towels. But what they really wanted, I had purchased gas cans, 5-gallon gas cans, propane bottles. I had Little Buddy heaters, all kinds of cleaning materials, Clorox, and then any kind of canned goods, but soft goods they just couldn't take anymore. But that was coming off the trailer. So I pulled around the front. They were offloading the trailer and literally putting it into people's cars because they were backed up and coming into the airport there to collect their goods.
Well, tell me this. You spent some time down there. I know you said you didn't just empty the trailer and turn right around and come back and leave. You spent some time down there. You met some people. You heard some stories. What did you see? I mean, how were these people coping with the idea of losing everything?
Well, you know, it was almost. I think most of the people are still in shock. I mean, they really didn't realize it. So when I left that area with all the soft goods, I actually went to another location, and there was a certain amount of spirituality involved. We tried to make it to this other location that needed the soft goods, the clothing and so forth, but we were blocked because of the power lines were down. And all of a sudden, an army truck drives up, and the lady who I was following, who was from a local church, she talked to the gentleman, and he said, "Follow me." And we went over to wound up at another church. It was the United Methodist Church Crisis Intervention Center that they had set up for the state.
Okay.
And I sent a picture to you of the group that helped me unload.
Yes.
And they were little kids. There were some elderly people, and they were all from all walks of life, sitting there unloading those trailers, and from other people too. And then you see people walking up looking for heaters because that was something that was really in high demand.
Right.
And as it gets colder down there, there are going to be more and more people needing that. But there are people there cooking. There were people there passing out food. There were people there just comforting other folks because of all their losses.
Now, the folks who donated to your first drive, now specifically, what town did they go to, or what?
So specifically, everything that I took down the first trip, it went to the Spruce Pine area, which is one of the hardest hit areas on the, I guess, just to the west, or actually to the east of Asheville and a little bit to the north. But Spruce Pine, you know, it's a very unique place. It has sand mines. And that sand has the highest silicone content of any sand in the United States.
Oh, wow.
So it's great for making semiconductors. So it was really important to get that town back on its feet so the people there, I mean, and our nation actually needs that resource.
Wow.
But so one of the firemen I talked to who was helping unload, you know, he had a point that was very well made, and that was the fact that the initial outputs by all the organizations and agencies was well done for the most part. There were a few issues here and there, but the interaction between the people and the locals and the churches from here and the churches from all over North Carolina and Virginia that are making a difference. And you know, the big organizations move on. It's a machine. It's a government machine that moves on, and it's not always there for the aftermath. Now, it's going to take them years before they're back to normal. Wow. And so you see this in trauma, that the trauma hits later, and now it's going to be cold, and now they're not going to have Christmas probably, and you know, and where are they going to have Thanksgiving? Now there's tents set up, there are churches that are feeding, but not having your family, not having a place to go for your family to have Thanksgiving is something that we think about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're, of course, organizing now another trailer you're trying to fill to take down. Before we get ready to go to our next break here, tell folks a little bit about what you're doing, where they can go, how they can contact you, how we can fill this trailer.
Well, I'm about half full right now. I'm going to try and go back down to Walmart again on this coming Saturday.
Okay, the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Correct. I figure Thanksgiving weekend, what a better time to give.
Right, absolutely.
So I'll be parked down there.
And what things are you looking for?
Well, still looking for blankets, looking for sleeping bags. They're looking for heaters. I mean, heaters that are run by propane.
Okay.
The little buddy heaters are perfect because they can actually be used inside a building. They're looking for dehumidifiers. Some of the things are too big for us to hope for getting a lot of.
Okay,
They're
sure.
still looking for generators.
Sure.
They need in the macro. They need shingles. They're gonna, we put a lot of tarps on houses. Now, I didn't, but they did initially, and so a lot of these tarps are not the heavy duty tarps, and,
Right.
and they're not going to make it through the winter.
Right.
So shingles, heavy duty tarping, like I said, anything to do with heating elements. They've got plenty of water. So I mean, I saw water piled up everywhere. So they got plenty of water, but it's going to be a problem for them because you got to realize that the septic systems have overflowed. So the septic now is going into the rivers.
Oh dear.
And if people are out looking around, and the cadaver dogs and people are looking for bodies, that gets tough.
That's very tough. Before we go to break here, so if someone wants to give donated items, you're going to be in the Walmart parking lot, you
Yes.
hope, this Saturday,
Right.
which I believe would be November the 30th, I believe.
I think it's
I'm pretty sure.
29th, isn't it?
Is it 29th maybe? Okay. I believe it's
look at my
I believe it's the 30th because I think
Okay.
December 1st is a Sunday, if
That's
I'm
right.
not mistaken. So is there any other way, if they want to make monetary donations?
I would take cash, and if I do, I'll bring them back a receipt. I would use that for fuel, or I'd use
Okay.
that to buy.
Okay.
One of the things I've learned is if I can buy more gas cans, I
Right.
buy the gas cans there. Like stop in someplace like, let's see, just above Bristol would be a good spot to buy those,
Right,
because that's one of the only ways to get south.
Sure.
And then I'd fill them up when I get closer to the location, so I'm not traveling with a bunch of filled gas cans.
Okay. Well, we do want to make sure that we give a shout out to some other organizations locally that have made efforts to help the folks in Virginia, Southwest Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina in the wake of Hurricane Helene. Holly Foltz of Stanley coordinated the
Right.
bigger effort there. That they took a half a dozen trailers down, packed with supplies to places like Irwin, Tennessee, Hendersonville, North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina, and the New River Regional Jail in Pulaski. The Luray Volunteer Fire Department donated a truck to a volunteer department down in Butler, Tennessee. So there have been many, many efforts. Apologies to those that we may have left out, but I knew those were some of the big ones, and we did want to give them credit as well. We're going to pause for a quick break right now. Will you stick around to play a game called the 5 W's with us?
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
We're going to be back and do that in just a moment. But first, another message from our sponsor.
At Luray Caverns, the Smithsonian Institution said, quote, "It is safe to say there is probably no other cave in the world more completely and profusely decorated than that of Luray. Come see Mother Nature showing off, only at Luray Caverns. Visit them online at luraycaverns.com to plan your trip today."
Hey folks, now we're going to finish up by playing a quick game called the 5 W's. I'm going to ask you 5 simple questions with a who, what, when, where, and why. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, you are ready. Military man, I can tell, yeah. Who are the people that you saw that you think needed the most help? In situations like this, there's various levels of need. What were some of the worst cases?
The worst cases were the rural folks outside the city limits that lived along the river. I mean, they took the greatest brunt of the flooding, and quite frankly, they're going to have a long time getting back to normal.
And a lot of those people, like you said, in some of those hollows, isolated.
Absolutely.
They couldn't get out of there for a long time as well. What is your goal, if you have any specific goals, for the second trip down?
This trip I plan to get down to Waynesville in that area.
Okay.
I've been around the Hendersonville area. Another friend of mine's headed down there probably the second week of December. But I'll make some phone calls. I want to make sure I'm going to the right place. But that's Waynesville area is Haywood County is where I'm headed to.
Okay. When did you first realize that this was something that you had to do?
As soon as I got off the phone with my friend who was the helicopter pilot, when he was telling me he was flying stuff in, it felt like we have so much to be thankful for. We're so lucky to live here and we have a lot, and we need to give. So.
Yes. Where, and we're going to plug your second drive here again to
Sure.
fill that second trailer, where can people donate now?
Well, hopefully this Saturday, I don't think Walmart's going to have any problem with me parking over on the side of the parking lot, and I'll have my little sign out there, and that's where I'll be collecting goods, and if any donations in cash or something they want to make, that's fine too. But like I said, I promise that I can show them where the money was spent in good faith.
Very well, very well. And we end up with the why, as we always do. Why is this type of community grassroots effort to help one another so important, given the fact we have FEMA, we have the National Guard, we have the American Red Cross? Right. Why do everyday people like you and Holly Foltz and the local firemen here in Luray and local churches and everyone else, why is it so important that they chip in as well?
Well, Randy, I'm going to read you a note that came from one of my friends who's a pastor in Todd, North Carolina, and he says, "Words cannot begin to express how grateful we are to you and your family for all the prayers, donations, financial support that you've shown to our family and neighbors during this time of need. It is true that during the worst circumstances, as God has demonstrated his great love to all of us in countless ways, it has given hope to so many who have lost so much and have witnessed how much people care about one another in this great country. We are blessed by your generosity, your love, and your compassion. Truly, it is the love of God working through you." You know, can't say any more than that. He's a good friend, and he's a pastor of 17 folks up in a hollow that was pretty devastated, lost both their bridges, were isolated. And you know the most unique thing about it to me, really kind of just a serendipitous action, the Shenandoah Electric Corporation here in Luray was actually the one that got his power back on for him and his family in that valley.
Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative.
Yeah, I mean, think about that.
Wow, wow.
So it's people helping people. That's what it is.
And we got to keep doing that.
Exactly.
We got to keep doing that, and we saw it here in our own community after the wildfires back in March. And folks, we need to think about the folks in western North Carolina as they prepare for winter. They continue to rebuild from almost nothing, and we need to remember what we have here and be grateful for it and be thankful for it this Thanksgiving Day weekend. Mike Overfelt, thank you so much for being with us
My
here
pleasure.
today. I appreciate you coming and telling these stories. And I want to thank you for not only spending time with us and what you've done in North Carolina, thank you for everything you've done in the Luray community since you've moved here. We're better off for having you.
Well, we love it here. It's been a great short 8 years, and we're looking for many more.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we also want to say thank you to Eleanor Arrington for all of her work behind the camera today and the editing room this week. And as always, if you enjoyed this show, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Page Valley News. You just type that in the search engine on YouTube and you'll find our channel. We are up to 47 shows, folks. Can't believe that. We're closing in on our first year anniversary. We might have a best of show coming up very soon. So make sure you get on the subscriber list. And finally, make sure to help and visit all of our furry friends down at the Page County Animal Shelter and help them find a forever home. Until next week, I'm Randy Arrington saying enjoy that Page Valley living.